My name is Cheryl Gray. My name is Cheryl Gray. I'm the CEO of Women's Network Australia. Great to see so many faces here today. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands we all are meeting today, which is many and varied, given the distances that keep us apart but also unite us. I'd like to acknowledge elders past, present and emerging, and thank them for their wisdom and contribution and ongoing connection with the land and the sea, wherever you may be joining us today. This is a really exciting opportunity for Women's Network Australia. I'll be introducing Joanne Brooks in a moment, who is one of our amazing WNA ambassadors, and we have several on the call today. Thank them for their support. I don't know that you all know the background of Women's Network Australia. We are a national network of women in business, and we've been around for over 30 years, 33 years. And we're all about supporting, empowering, and being there to help raise up women in business. And a really important part of the, I guess, 3 pillars that we focus on is lifelong learning. And we've been very fortunate through Joanne to be introduced to Ducere Global Business School and to have offered a number of scholarships to Women's Network Australia members who have benefited from being able to do their MBAs for free. And we are incredibly grateful, almost as grateful as they are, because I know, having spoken with them regularly and shared their stories of their learnings through their MBA, how valuable it is, not only to their education, but also to the way they look at their business, their work, and their general approach to life. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about Ducere Global Business School, the opportunities that we're very pleased to be able to offer through partnering with Ducere. And obviously it's one of a number of opportunities that we like to be able to connect our members with in terms of their lifelong learning. Enough from me. I'm going to hand over to Joanne. Joanne is our ambassador for leadership and coaching, so a very appropriate title for this, and has been a tremendous asset for our network, and particularly in that leadership space. So thanks, Joanne. And I'll let you introduce Don and Matt, who's joining us with a beautiful sunny backdrop there. We've been complaining, Matt, about the cold here in Australia at the moment. So thank you for joining us and bringing a little bit of sunshine to today. Joanne, over to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Look, I have to say I'm really excited. I'm going to share my screen. I'm assuming, there we go. Let's bring it up. Here we go. We're going to talk about this amazing partnership between Ducere Global Business School and Women's Network Australia, because for me, it's about collaboration. And I know for me, my biggest successes in business has been collaboration. So, super exciting to announce this partnership between these two amazing organisations. And so I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to jump in and out of sharing, because I do want to introduce my very good friend, colleague, a man that I've known. I'm going to say, Matt, it's 20 years. It's got to be a jolly long time. We've done business before together. I'm excited that we continue to be able to do business together. Matt Jacobson, an Aussie guy who lives in the US now, running and driving the Ducere Global Business School. So, Matt, welcome. Thank you for making the time. I know you're incredibly busy. You're traveling all the time. But I'd like you to share, if you could, why Ducere? Why did you create this amazing business?
Oh, thanks, Jo. Pleasure to be here. And yeah, apologies. I should have put a fake background in the back, so I wasn't deliberately teasing. I was actually going to call first thing in the morning, because early we do UK, Europe time, and then in the evenings here it goes on to Australia time. But it's summer over there, and they were also like, we've had no summer. It's been raining like just nonstop. So I know I feel like I'm rubbing it in with the the background here in the sunshine. But if anyone wants to come visit and do some workshops over this way in person, you're welcome to come to sunny LA. But great for that intro, and just a couple of things on, why Ducere. I think that's a good question. There's probably a lot of different ways we could answer that question, but I don't want to sort of talk for the next 3 hours. So a couple of things that I would just call out. One is that we are a social enterprise. We funded philanthropic education across 27 countries in Africa, and we do a ton of diversity and equity work. And a lot of people, have very nice value statements and vision statements and talk about diversity and equity. But, I think it's always important to really look under the hood and what are organizations actually doing, and how do they stand by some of those principles, and what does that mean in practice? So for us, I actually just had a post on LinkedIn. If anyone wants to join me on LinkedIn, you'll see it. And I had a post with a image of Hillary Clinton from a documentary that she was in. I've been very lucky to have met Hillary Clinton a number of times through some of the collaboration work that we've done. And she talks about the gender pay gap, and she has a real depth of knowledge and talks about how there isn't actually a gender pay gap. There is a mother pay gap specifically. It's actually a penalty for mothers, because when women leave the workforce to start a family, their colleagues are just working for years and moving up, step by step, but they've kind of hovered sideways because they've been out of the workforce for 3, 5, 7, 10 years, whatever it is. So just really interesting in terms of understanding what are the real issues and how do you compensate for that. In addition, we've got, the first chancellor we had was Julia Gillard, Australia's first female prime minister. A current patron of our philanthropic work is one of only a few ever elected female presidents from the African continent. So that's all exciting, but I think most practical is not just necessarily those name-dropping opportunities, but the practicality of the millions of dollars that we fund in scholarships for women in leadership. And of course, we've got a vested interest. We're a global university group. We believe in education, but we also do genuinely believe that that is what breaks a systemic cycle. Just saying, everyone should be treated equally and everyone should be given a fair go. Yeah, that's true, but it doesn't really change anything. The thing that actually moves the needle is when minorities are given access to advanced education, when women are given opportunities for advanced degrees at the same level as men. One of our colleagues here in LA, who you know really well, Joe Caroline, just last kind of comment, and then I'll stop talking unless anyone's got any specific questions for me. But she went to UC. Everyone knows UC here. Great program, good reputable school, but she's in her MBA working on projects, and I've seen photos, and you just see like a whole bunch of men and one woman. So, how are you ever going to have equality in leadership if 5 times more men are graduating from masters and PhDs and MBAs? Then when a senior leadership role comes up, it's like, oh, you weren't quite qualified compared to this other guy that we ended up giving the job to. So you got to start from that beginning of getting the right credentials. Anyway, that's our philosophy and methodology, and the sort of why Ducere from my perspective, if that's helpful, hopefully a little bit.
Thanks, Matt. Look, it's, and I have to say, if I can just touch on that very briefly, I have witnessed the work that Matt does in Africa. When I last looked, and I'm sure these numbers are pretty old, but last I looked, there was 26,000 stories physically published in books that children in Africa have written because they've had support of Ducere in educating their teachers to help them to read and write. And, the stories could be poems, could be long stories, could be short pieces, but I'm sure we can appreciate the trauma that a lot of these children have been through in Africa. And so that to be physically published in a book and then sent around for people to read and to feel, can you imagine how proud they feel that they're a published author, for goodness sake, and their children. It's a beautiful story. So I really, really love that. So that's a beautiful foundation piece that Matt works on. But I'd like to start with you, Cheryl, if I could ask. I know when I first introduced you to Ducere, there was an opportunity for you to be involved with Women's Network Australia in a project which this will be a very different viewpoint of the Ducere journey. So if you could share a little bit, what was that all about?
Thank you. Yeah, look, it's a really amazing opportunity, one that I, to be honest, didn't know existed, and I feel incredibly privileged to be part of it. Essentially what it is being on the other side. So Ducere students, as part of their studies, do industry-based projects, working directly with leaders in companies, in industries, to develop a project. So we were offered the opportunity to put forward a project to a group of students, and as Women's Network Australia, and we're just coming to the end of that project now. That project was to develop essentially a customer experience journey, a corporate marketing strategy, and a member strategy. And so I've had the privilege, in fact, I've got a call with my student team tonight. Most of them are based in the UK. And they're an incredibly impressive group of people. I'd have to say the first call with them was pretty intimidating when they introduced themselves and I saw the caliber of the students I was working with. Couple of IT experts, some incredible marketing brains, really, high profile in their organizations. And here they are doing this industry project for Women's Network Australia. So they'll be presenting the initial findings tonight, in fact, of what they're putting forward. So it's very collaborative. We work together throughout that. And in a month's time, they'll finalise what is for them their assessment piece, but it also for us will be a really amazing piece of high caliber work that we intend to implement. So it's that very much industry focused practical work that you're doing and applying what they're learning from a theoretical standpoint, but also in really practical terms. So that's an insight into the Ducere program that I wasn't aware of, and it's been a fantastic experience. So as a student, you'd be on the other side of that, working in with major organisations anywhere around the world, putting forward major and important pieces of work.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I have to say that is a piece for me in the Ducere offer that I found incredibly compelling, in that we're not doing projects on a case study that happened 10 years ago that possibly FedEx or some other organisation that we don't have a lot of necessary relevance to. And so I know Matt and the team are constantly looking for organisations that they can encourage to have projects done, so that the students have got live projects to work on. And how amazing will that look on your resume, right? That you've worked with an organisation that's live, they've implemented it, and potentially you'll be able to understand the impact that it's had on that business. So pretty awesome thing. Now, we do have a student here with us today. She's looking at me and thinking, you're not going to make me speak, are you? And you don't have to, Cass. But Cass is sitting on the screen here, and I'm doing the MBA as well. I'm super excited about it. I wonder, Cass, if to put you on the spot, just a couple of words about what are you getting out of what you're doing in the MBA?
Well, I am in the throes of my last subject. So I'm going for about a year and a bit now. And I should also say I've got a beautiful shiner at the moment. So, just bear with me. I gave myself a good concussion about 10 days ago, just to add to the MBA. I've found it really, how would I best describe it? It's been really flexible. So I'm working full time. I work for CSIRO, Australia's National Science Agency, and I was very grateful to actually get a scholarship to undertake the MBA through Joanne and Women's Network Australia. And it's been really fascinating how I've been able to apply things immediately. Like, there's been so many different elements of subjects, whether it's the strategy subject or the leadership subjects, where immediately I've been able to pick them up and either look to apply them within Soro currently, or actually share some insights with others on the team. So it's really immediately applicable. The other aspect that has been really fantastic is the huge amount of case studies that the team have collected from leaders around the world, and insights that you're getting from literally world leaders and former world leaders that again are instantly applicable in really great bite-sized pieces. And the other advantage of doing the program has been the flexibility to be able to dive into things at the time that suits around work and life commitments. That's my insights.
Thank you, Cass. That's awesome. It's always good to have a live student on one of these pieces. So let me just jump back into sharing the screen with you, if I can beg your indulgence for that for a moment while I go grab it. So this I guess is a nutshell. Why an MBA now? What I really enjoy and have great clarity on in that Matt was determined that these MBAs or degrees, they do bachelors as well as MBAs. They've been written by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. And I absolutely see that in the content that I'm going through in my MBA. Absolutely. My network has expanded and exploded, and I'm sure Cass, yours has too, and the other students. We're doing degrees with people from all around the world in our class, and from small businesses to large global companies. It can be a lovely mixture of that. And so who doesn't want to build that capacity in our businesses? Practical and applicable to the business. Well, Cass spoke really well about that, and so did Cheryl in regards to the projects. So the next line might surprise you a bit, in that global projects and therefore no exams. So who loves exams? So I don't think anybody should be putting their hands up on that one. It's not a great experience for most people. For some, it's a huge barrier. But then what I particularly enjoy is the access to what I consider, you've got 250 global leaders woven through this content, because Matt has spent time in interviewing world leaders. And so, he's speaking to people of the caliber of Desmond Tutu, Goldie Hawn, Julia Gillard. These interviews are woven through all the content. And so the interviews are relevant to the subject you're studying. And so therefore, it's absolutely relevant, and it's fascinating listening to these people. What is also, things that I've noticed for me, I was able to have some of my skills recognised with, the university that I'm going through. It's absolutely had me thinking differently. The critical thinking skills that I've developed through undertaking my MBA has really changed how I build and grow my business. Implementing operational excellence, all these things. You can read this stuff. But, for me, if somebody had asked me, and I know I shared this with, I'll just get my mouse back. I know I shared this with Matt when I first started talking to him about this. If somebody had said to me as a business owner 5 years ago, Joanne, you need to do an MBA because you're a business owner, I would have said, what a load of rubbish. And I'm honest about that, because I didn't see the relevance of how it could align with me as a business owner. I can tell you my mind has changed exponentially because of the caliber of the lecturers, the people that are doing the programs. And, whether I'm talking to people who are in corporate or own businesses, it doesn't matter. It's building my network, but it's having me think differently, because I've been in corporate for a long time. And then being able to see and listen to these global leaders has been game changing. And, I'm one of these few people. I don't know whether I'm one of these few people, but I've never was given the opportunity to go to university. That was not my choice when I left school. I've done all the vocational education you could possibly think of, and that's where I first met Matt. And so for me to be able to dive into something like this, to have me thinking differently, to explore and understand what it is to be in the academic world, but from an entrepreneurial perspective, has been game-changing for me, absolutely game-changing. So let me just go back to share my screen. Does Matt or Don, do you have anything to comment to what we've covered so far before I keep going with the screen sharing?
No, I think you're doing a fantastic job. So nothing from me.
Good eye.
That's awesome.
Don, you're on mute.
Doesn't that have to be the way every meeting? I think
It's always
I think between you, Cheryl, and Cass, you've done a great job. I'm studying myself, so but you've articulated it better than I could.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. So, I have a few questions for you here, but what if you could learn from over 250 global leaders? What if you could work on live global projects? What if you could do an MBA in half the time, fraction of the cost, but would actually add value to your business or your role, that you could actually determine that there's value in the skills, in the business growth, in the career growth? This is what Ducere Global Business School offer. And so let me just share with you. Here are some of the female global leaders that you'll get to listen to. So these people, the caliber of these people, and I'm sure, Matt, you're continuing to interview people. You're always looking for people to interview who are game changers in their industry. Who wouldn't want to hear from these people? I have to say to you, when I saw Goldie Hawn, my immediate thought, this doesn't sound great, my immediate thought was the nutty actress that we're all very familiar with in those old movies that we've seen over the years with this lady. But I went and listened to her, and it had me going to search the other things that she does. My goodness, she has the most amazing foundation, the Mind Up programs. The work that she does to support disadvantaged people is incredible, and it's fabulous. If you come across her interviews throughout the courses, I do encourage you to take the time to listen to them. And the lovely thing is there's a number of snippets of these interviews in Ducere's YouTube channel, so you can go and have a check at it and go and have a bit of a look. But who wouldn't want to listen to some of these people and the roles that they have, right? And we may not aspire to be a Prime Minister of Australia, but I have to say I'd be pretty interested in hearing what Julia Gillard has to say in her journey and how she got to where she is. And the lovely thing is we've got people from all around the world, and it's not limited to women. There's a lot of, Desmond Tutu, who doesn't want to listen to him? So there's some amazing people that you go, I absolutely want to hear from these people. And there was one fella, Bernard Marr, was in one of my subjects, the first subject that I did. Never heard of the man, but I bought his book. I follow him. He's a fascinating man, and he's all about artificial intelligence and what it's doing to the workforce. Incredibly, you would think it'd be very techie subject to listen for him to speak about, but he makes it super simple to listen to. And so he is an entrepreneur. He talks about it. And so you can expand your skill set by, connecting with these people in all the areas of their business that they do. So, this is pretty different. And this is something that definitely captured my attention when I started exploring what this would look like. Now, it's a little bit sad, but I know, Cheryl, you have a clear perspective of what Kath has experienced in her MBA journey, and we're hoping that she could join us today, but sadly not the case. Do you want to give us your perspective, what you've heard Kath talk about in her journey with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kath Kemp is one of our Women's Network Australia members. Like Cass, was the very fortunate recipient of one of the scholarships that we were able to offer through Ducere. Cass runs a jewellery business called Ruby Red Jewellers, based in Brisbane, and she's also a gemologist. She's an extraordinary, connected and committed woman in her community. And we've been able to share, in fact, her journey through blogs that we have written and published on the Women's Network Australia blog. So if you want to read about Kath's Ducere journey, jump on to womensnetworkaustralia.com, look at the blogs page, or search on those pages for Kath Kemp, and you will find her story where she shared the impact of doing her MBA through Ducere and what it's actually meant. But what I've heard Kath talk about is it's actually changed her whole perspective about her business, to the point that she's even sort of said, I'm not even sure I'll be in this business in a year's time. I just feel like my whole world has expanded. So as you said, Joanne and Cass, Kath Kemp has been able to not only apply her learnings day to day in her small business, but she's now opening her mind to opportunities well beyond her current business and where she wants to take it or some other business moving forward. So, and that has been such a short transformation. I think the thing about this, and I guess my perspective of studying postgrad, MBAs, whatever it might be, is it's going to take years. It'll take years to do this. But this is a 12-month journey for Kath Kemp, and I know it's unfortunate that she can't be here with us today, but every time I see her and talk about Ducere, just the change really comes out. And so it just shows you that this is not just an opportunity for people in large organizations or people who want to pursue an academic path. This is for women who run small businesses and aspire to use and learn and grow through the work that they do. And Kath is an absolute shining example of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've heard the same of her speak about that. She is so excited, so passionate about the learning that she's doing. It's an absolute delight to hear her feedback. So thanks for sharing that, Cheryl. So what do we have on offer? What are and who are the universities? So Ducere collaborate with universities around the world, Australian as well as European and American, USA universities. So you're not going to go to Ducere to do a master's or a degree in medicine, for example. Yeah, these are degrees that help build your leadership, your entrepreneurial mindset. This is how I think of it. There's an incredible one here through Kennedy University, space leadership. Now that's a very unique degree, reasonably new to the suite of programs available through Ducere. So let me be really clear here. Ducere have written and had these university degrees accepted, accredited, recognised, acknowledged by these universities. And so wherever you do your degree, I'm doing mine through the Collège de Paris. My goal is to go and graduate in Paris. That would be pretty neat. And we're invited to attend that. But I also know it'll be recognised here in Australia. So there's some amazing universities, some you may or may not have heard of before, but they all have a global reputation. They're all globally recognised. And so there are, there's a couple of here, cyber and data management, digital health. There are some unique, specific degrees sitting here, but I really love the opportunity here, executive MBAs, global, leadership and strategy, all speak to anybody who's in business. And so there's a nice opportunity to have a choice of where you go. So we spoke very briefly about the no exams, which I need to put Women's Network Australia logo on here. Cheryl, my apologies, it's not on there. We'll make sure, we'll fix it. But the awesome thing,
we're up the top, we're happy.
We're up the top. You take, you're in the title area. So these are the caliber of the organisations that the Ducere Group have reached out to say, is there a project that we could have an MBA cohort help you solve within your business and present it back to them? So who wouldn't want to be involved in a project in the United Nations, for example, or Save the Children, Qantas, make a, Disney, for goodness sake. The caliber of these organisations that are seeking solutions in their business today that the Ducere Global Business School students can contribute a solution to, I think that's a game changer. You don't have to sit for 3 hours for each subject and pull stuff out of your brain and try and write it down articulately. Yes, Cheryl, jump in.
Oh, look, I just wanted to also emphasise that when you're working on those industry projects, it's not like they just give you a case study or a brief and off you go and do some research and feed it back. You actually talk to them. And I'm not sure if I made that point clear enough when I was talking about the industry project that we're on. You talk to the CEOs, the chief marketing officers, the chief financial officers in the organizations, and you ask them questions and you get the insights. So they bring you in. So it's not an internship. It is a assessment industry project that you do, but you get to speak to those people in their organizations, which in itself is an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I was just going to jump in as well. Thanks for that, Cheryl. That's great feedback. And you were talking about Kath before as well, and I actually have chatted with Kath directly a couple of times, and she's awesome as well. And I think it just brings in the connection between the two. we often get focused on these big brands and cool things like projects with Ford and Disney, because it is amazing. And as you say, these are actual real live projects where you're engaging with these companies. So that's amazing. But it's also important to emphasize that's not the majority of the assessments. That is some of the assessments, and it's really cool. But the majority are actually applied projects on your own business. And you're still not doing that theoretical case study like Joe, you mentioned, FedEx from 20 years ago. So we never have assignments on that. It's always practical applied projects. But sometimes it's working with a project with the UN or World Vision or whichever amazing organization it is, LinkedIn, etc. But often the bulk of the MBA is applied to your own industry. So if you're like Kath and you're an entrepreneur and you're in the jewelry industry, you're actually working on projects for that industry. And I didn't know this, but one of you mentioned that she's maybe even, I think Joe, you said that she's maybe looking at getting out of the industry and doing something else. We have amazing student stories that say, well, do I have to do my assignments on the industry where I'm working because I'm planning to do something else in 12 months? Well, you can do whatever you want. So if someone was working in banking, but they're planning to, I don't know, launch their own gin liquor company, they can actually be doing all of their assignments on their new business and the new industry. So market analysis, competitor analysis, business strategy, marketing plan. So it doesn't have, we don't enforce that it has to be on the company you're working on, but it's essentially applied to whatever industry you either are or want to be in. So you just got the best setup for success.
Oh, thanks, Matt. You make a really good point, because I did exactly that in my subject for big data. I was at that time an executive for an organization. So I put together, my assignment was a big data plan for that organization, which we implemented. And so it was absolutely relevant. And I was able to, work and study at the same time and, kicking goals along the way. So, that was a pretty neat experience, and gave me the opportunity and gave me access, as Kath said, the amount of resources and case study and tools that is made available to us as we study. It blew my mind. I didn't have to go anywhere else. I didn't have to go buy a textbook. Everything's provided within the platform that we use. So yeah, there's some case studies there. I'm not going to make you read those. We will make this slide deck available, so you can go and look at these in your own time, etc. But we do, Ducere do have an amazing platform. It is easy to navigate. I'm sure Cass, you can confirm for that. But the library that they've pulled together of research papers, academic papers, is incredible. And so you can draw on that to work on your projects, your assignments that need to be lodged with each subject. You get to connect through chat. You get to connect through tutorials. Everything's online, but it's all in one spot. We don't need to go anywhere else. It's actually, so I just want to say congratulations, Matt, because I am absolutely blown away at the quality of the program that's in here and the platform that you provide to us as students. It's made it really easy. It's a tough journey doing an MBA, but you've made it really easy, if that makes sense. So let's quickly look at how it compares to other organisations, other universities, and some of these numbers I feel I need to adjust a little bit. But I guess for me, as a person who's not done a degree before, heard all the stories about people who've undertaken MBAs, and the thing that stuck in my mind often was, did I get a lot out of it? I got a piece of paper. I got a very large debt. There wasn't a lot of great positives shared with me with other university journeys. I'm sure there's many that are amazing, but as often as human nature, we tend to hone in on what you hear as a negative. But what I can say about the Ducere piece is that it takes less time. It's definitely more cost effective. And just the fact that there's no exams, all those sort of things are available. And what I do as a value add for the Women's Network Australia, I'm here to provide individual mentoring to any students, any people, members who choose to enrol in an MBA. Because what my goal is for you is, go and enroll and learn and build skills, but I want to make sure that you're able to apply those new skills to your business, to your role, to, you know, or the new business you're looking to connect with. So and I don't charge, there's no cost for that. I'm here to support as part of my ambassador role, but also just part of me bringing in Ducere to the Women's Network Australia. And so, you know, I catch up when I can with Cass and Kath and some of the other ladies. Sometimes it's just via email, quick call just to see how you're going. But I'm here to support and to make sure that you can connect this learning to your business and implement it, or to create a plan. You know, I might be in a corporate role and I want to start a business. All those things I make available. So for me, it's an absolute no-brainer as to where it's going to go. But what's important is, how do you get into these? Now, all bar Kennedy University, it's a US university. That is a statutory requirement or regulatory requirement. You do need to have a bachelor's degree already. But with our other universities, you know, some of the things I've heard from other people, it's pretty hard to get into an MBA. There's a lot of process, a lot of boxes to tick. But minimum management experience or owning your own business, current resume, some references, personal letter, photo ID. They make it really simple. And that's also what I'm here to do, is to help support everybody in their enrollment process. So I'm in your enrollment officer at the same time as your mentor. So it's got to be easy. It's got to be accessible. It's got to be simple. And there's no doubt that Ducere help us with that. So this is the offer. So straight into an offer. And this is something that Matt has been incredibly generous regards. So for any Women's Network member, there's 10 scholarships where it will only cost you $10,000 Australian to undertake the MBA, and you can choose from the list that I showed you before. So, you know, that's an incredibly generous offer. I've heard some really horrendous quotes on what other organisations charge for an MBA. This is accessible. It's simple. And, you know, for me, it's about taking the lead and be the change. So if you want something different in your business or your role, for me, this is a very viable pathway. Cheryl, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I did, Joanne. I wanted to get a handle on cost, the average cost of doing an MBA in Australia. So I did a little Dr. Google, as you do. And there's a fantastic list, and everyone can Google it, although I'm happy to share it as well. There's a list, a comparative table of all the different MBAs from all the different universities and the cost. The average starts with a 5, okay? So they varied sort of from around about the low 40s up to the 60s and beyond. So there was, you know, some in 3 figures, over $100,000 and beyond to do MBAs here in Australia, including one of the universities that are on offer through the Ducere program. So I just wanted to put that into perspective for those who may not have investigated actually how much it costs to do an MBA. You're talking 50s and above. So this is a substantial savings opportunity.
Yeah, I would just follow on from what you're saying, Cheryl. That's exactly right. So that's great that you did the research and have that comparison, because that is one of the big barriers. I think most people, you know, if we were giving MBAs away like lollies and they cost, you know, a couple of bucks, everyone would say, I'll take one. But the average MBA in Australia is about $58,000, and that's the average. And then when you think about, you know, brands that are a little bit better known, exactly right, you're talking $60,000, $70,000. Price should not be a barrier to education. And we're very fortunate because we work around the world. So in Australia, we have access to fee help and government loans. In the UK, we have access to UK government loans. In the US, to Sallie Mae loans. In Canada, to government loans. So a low cost is a huge benefit to opening up a much, much broader market. And then you offer flexible finance payments or loan options, and then you really just eliminate cost as a barrier. When you start talking about $10,000 and it's not paid up front, it's paid over, you know, time, you're really eliminating cost as a barrier, and that's really important. But I think it's important to emphasize that That's one. And of course, have a chat with Joanne about any personal situations. We have financial hardship scholarships and all sorts of things. But cost is one. There's really two reasons why every manager in Australia doesn't have an MBA. Otherwise, everyone would just take them if they were free and easy. But they're not free and they're not easy. So we try to eliminate the cost as a barrier. But the second is the easy part. And that is, it's a lot of work to do an MBA. And that's usually daunting. Even if it was 100% scholarship, you'll go, oh, yeah, I've got kids, I've got a full-time job. How am I going to manage this? And that comes back to the conversation about the applied projects. And that's not only relevant and practical, it also overcomes that huge barrier of time. Because what typically happens is, and we have global faculty, I'm not trying to, knock traditional universities. We have global faculty members from Melbourne University, Harvard, Oxford, Yale, NYU. And there's, some good things that you can get from a traditional university, but you're doing their MBA. So someone works at Westpac Bank, they're doing a traditional MBA, and it's really like two jobs. You got your full-time job over here and you're doing your MBA over there, and they kind of have nothing to do with each other. Because most of the assignments, we have no exams, and most of the assignments are applied projects on strategic projects within your company or your industry. It's really more like you're getting an MBA working on the projects that you wanted to do anyway. Like what you said, Joe, about big data and the company you're in and applying it to a strategic project of that company. So it's more of a work integrated MBA. And if you can overcome the time barrier and the cost, and one thing, even though this is Women's Network Australia, one interesting kind of story is that our record of a person who works full-time and the largest number of kids and doing our MBA, all of our students are full-time working and have families and other things to juggle. But our record is 11 kids. I say it's interesting with Women's Network Australia, because that's actually a guy, not a girl, a guy who has 11 children working full-time and has graduated our MBA. So, it's like whenever someone says, oh, I don't know if I can manage, I can juggle, it's like, they can do it, you can do it. There's no excuse.
My word.
Yeah.
That is nuts, Matt. Thank you for sharing. That is, yes, Don, please jump in.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize something too, that this is not a $10,000 MBA, right? We drive scholarships, and for like the Women's Network Australia, it's an affordable pricing that we offer. We don't do a lot of advertising. We don't spend $1.5 million a month, and that's the average spend of a university per month in advertising. We put all of that money into the scholarships to make it more accessible. So, by all means, if you go and look at the listed price of these MBAs, they are not $10,000. So these are not $10,000 MBAs. And if there's any question around the credibility of these programs and the universities, we can share the credit equivalencies of these programs. They're on par with some of the highest rated universities in the world. So just wanted to emphasize on that as well.
Thanks, Don. That's really well. Good point. Let me just share the very last screen.
Joanne, while you're bringing up the slide, I noticed Rachel Downey has just joined us. Rachel is another of our MBA scholarship students.
Yes.
And I just thought, Rachel, we've shared a bit of Cass and Kath Kemp's journey on their MBA. I just wonder if you wanted to reflect a bit on your MBA journey so far. You just have to unmute if you can, Rachel. No,
that's okay. I know she may well be. I know Rachel has shared that, and she's a business coach like myself, seen and experienced the same sort of different thinking, different processes, how she runs her business, how she thinks about her business, how she engages with her business. I know I've seen that. We've got a beautiful video, actually, testimonial from Rachel. So we'll make sure we share that so that everybody can have a look at it. We'll get it on socials so you can see. But thank you, Rachel, for jumping in. I appreciate the challenges of technology. When it isn't your friend, it can be a little bit challenging. But this is just, if you want to grab some time with me, this takes you straight to my calendar. Please go grab it with your phones, scan that QR code, and we can just have a conversation. Explore what it might, if it's if you're mildly interested, excited, whichever way you want to tackle it, or just want to hear some more, please, by all means, reach out. My calendar's there, or you can just give me a call on the mobile. No trouble at all. Would love to talk to you.
Could you keep that up? But I wanted to just, Don, you can give us a bit of an overview, I think, of what's coming up in terms of the timetable for enrolments, because
Yes,
it might be relevant in terms of how quickly some people want to jump on board.
Yeah, so we've got our College to Parry program that's coming up next. And then we have our Torrance programs that are coming up as well. So from bachelor's all the way to MBA this year. So those are our last intakes for the year. We do have a University of East London program coming up. And then last but not least, our Rome Business School programs are also there. So there's one intake left for each one of those. We can guarantee the scholarship prices that we have for this year. As with everything, prices are going up. So we're always encouraging. We are at the mercy of the universities on the pricing for 2025. So we can't guarantee any of the scholarship spots or the pricing beyond the last intakes, as always with any of our programs. So there are some really good opportunities, good scholarship opportunities for these last intakes. So we'd love to have some of you on board. I also want to make a comment. I'm doing my final industry project at the moment with University of East London, and I would have loved to have more female leaders represented in that group. There's 12 of us. There's 2 female leaders. If not for those 2 female leaders, it would be chaos. So there is a certain level of organization. And my wife's a teacher, my mom's a teacher as well. I know the value. So please join. We need a few more female leaders, and these are highly accomplished female leaders. One of the ladies that's on there is a script writer for the current American government. So they're both in the US. So please join us. We need more female leaders and emerging leaders.
And I think just to follow on also, that's great, Don. And Cheryl, for your question about timing and what's coming up. I think the screen that you can see here, Chat to Joe, is really just the best kind of next step, because there are multiple programs. They have different dates. Every program is slightly different. They're all our degrees that we design and deliver. Fundamentally, they're similar. You're learning from world leaders, no exams, applied projects, 100% online. There's a lot of foundations that are the same, but then there's differences around entry criteria, how much work there is. Maybe some people really want to get credit for things they've already studied or knowledge that they have. Some programs will be more flexible with how much credit you can get versus someone else who says, no, I want to learn as much as I can. I'm not so keen to get credits. I just want to be as immersed as possible. Some people want to do more external projects like, Disney, UN. Some people are like, I don't want to work on a project for Disney. I just want to work on my own project. So there's variation between the programs. And the best thing is just to have a chat. It doesn't cost anything. And what we do, we're obviously presenting a lot on, the style and pedagogy of our education, but then it gets flipped. Then it's a lot about what are you doing? What's your job? What company do you work for? What are your goals? Why do you want to study? Do you want to earn more money? Are you trying to learn skills? Do you want to move to a new industry? And with all of that knowledge and background, everyone on this call is going to be different. And it's not about trying to push, into one program. Is having access to fee help important? Is that not important? Like, there's a lot of variables, and just having that one-on-one conversation, there's really nothing to lose by going through that process and seeing what the options are and what the differences are with the different programs.
Thank you, Matt. Well, we've come to the end of the actual presentation, but happy to open the doors. And mindful, I want to be respectful of your time. But does anybody have any questions now that you would like us to answer, or comments you'd like to make? Please feel free. Just unmute yourself and jump on in.
Adrienne, I don't know if you can connect us, but I noticed you put a comment on the chat and you're still with us. If you wanted to ask any questions now, or share your thoughts. You just need to scroll down to the bar at the bottom and unmute. We can't hear Adrienne, Joanne, but she's put a comment in the chat saying that she, I guess, like many of us when we're talking about study, don't normally get excited about studying, but she can't unmute. She doesn't normally get excited about studying, but this has created a great deal of excitement. And I think that's right. To be fair, that's a pretty common reaction to this, because you kind of go, like, it does in some ways seem too good to be true. And that's why it's really important to hear from Cass and Kath and Rachel and the others, and yourself, Joanne, who are actually going through it, to go, actually, it is hard, like it, you know, but it's not as hard as it could be, or in terms of some of the other formats that are offered, but it's achievable. Yes. And it, as Matt said, removes those major barriers that are preventing a lot of us from actually taking up opportunities like this. So it's great to share that excitement, Adrienne.
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you, Matt, for dialing in from all the way from LA. Lovely to see you. Haven't seen you for a little while. And Don making the time, and of course Cheryl for being open to the opportunity. So I'm excited for what this will bring to the members of Women's Network Australia. So if it's not for you, please do share it with others. If you think of others that might be interested, we'll make sure the recording goes out. I'll make sure the slide deck is shared as well. And just for those of you who are interested in hearing more about the intakes, we're going to do a regular webinar to talk about the specific universities as we're coming up to each of those intakes. So watch out for the webinar schedules, and we'll be back on here talking more about Ducere Global's Business School and Women's Network. Thank you so much for coming along. Thanks Matt. Take care.
Great. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks all. So great to see you.
Bye. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, as you know, I'm a sucker for some academic challenges, and this is really, this has been great. And I honestly, it's got me thinking now, adding an MBA to a PhD. But I think
why not?
Why not, right?
Why not?
But there are so many things that get in the way, and so many roadblocks and prohibitive, things. And it's not just financial. A lot of it is relevance. Relevance
absolutely
to your business. And I think this is absolutely spot on. And an old business, I didn't want to bring this up with everybody, but a former business coach of mine, very well known, is actually rewriting the MBA curriculum at Sydney University, because it is the stuff they're teaching in terms of, way modern, our business acumen now has changed. And it's not keeping up with, the trials and tribulations of what we need to know in terms of from technology, with just things in general. So this is a phenomenal opportunity. So you've definitely got me thinking. We'll probably have a bit more of a chat. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to have you as a co-student. How cool would that be?
Oh my God, how much fun. Wouldn't we get any work done? Actually, we would, because we're both pretty
much fun.
Yeah.
It would be amazing. Thanks for your comments, Chris. It's very kind of you to share. Look, I always love talking about this offer, because for me it's such a no-brainer. It's accessible, and we just need to spread the words. As I said, if it's not for us immediately, just saying, hey, have you heard? Give Joanne a call, and that's all. Just let's have a conversation and talk about it. And the lovely thing is, there's a different university offer, jolly every month, pretty much every month. So you get lots of choice. And what I was able to access was credit standing. So I'm doing the MBA because I want to experience what it is to be in a university environment, be in academia, help build my business. But I also was mindful of my time. So I was given the opportunity to achieve credit standing for 3 of the 6 subjects in the College to Paris MBA.
Okay.
Not a lot in Australia.
Yeah, there's normally 12.
There's normally 12. So the European MBAs, there's 6. I was able to secure 3 credits. So I did a subject in March. My next subject is August, and then I get to do the project. So I'm going to experience all the things that I want to experience. Get some letters, great, fantastic. So for me, it was a different reason for doing it, but I'm loving it. Absolutely love what I'm learning and seeing. But, I was happy to apply for some credit, and it wasn't difficult because, as business owners, we accumulate business plans and strategy documents and all these things that we create for our business. So it's a matter of making those available to the assessor and doing a video interview. It was not hard. It was not onerous. Lots of questions. So I was given the questions prior. So I was able to go, okay, you are, no, I wasn't that I wanted to write a script of how to answer those questions, but I had a bit of a sense of how I would respond. And so they made it really simple for that. So pretty neat.
Excellent.
But thank you for coming.
All right, ladies, I'm going to need to head off. Thank you very much. That was excellent. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks. Good
Great
to see you,
see you, Leanne. Take care.
Yeah.
And thanks,
all.
Chris.
Great to
So,
see you, Demetra.
we'll chat again
Madison,
later.
I've popped my email address in the chat, Madison. We'd love to be able to collaborate with your network down there and open the door to any of your members who might want to come in and take advantage of it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll be in touch.
And we can
Great.
extend this, this offer can be made available to your network as well, Madison, if you think that would be of interest. Happy to have a conversation around that.
Perfect.
Yep.
That would be great. Thank you.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you, ladies.
Take care, everyone. Thanks so much, Joanne.
Oh, my pleasure.
Bye now.